HE News, episode number 26. You're listening to Health Empowerment News with CROFT Woodruff. This week, we talk more about the devastation in Japan, the nuclear power plant radiation, and what you can do about it. Welcome back to Health Empowerment News. I'm Andrew McGivern, and I'm here in the studio with CROFT Woodruff.
Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning, CROFT. And we were talking on the phone earlier this week about what's going on in Japan, and what did you have to say about the radiation and everything?
Well, it looks to me that, I look at it this way. You know that the government officials are lying because their lips are moving when it comes to what's in store for us in dealing with this problem.
So that's the old joke?
Yeah, well, somebody like myself, I'm 76 years old. In fact, I'll be 77 in August this year. And I'm probably only have a few years left of my life. And that's one thing I'm not going to be worrying about, what this stuff does to me, because at this juncture, there's not much I think that I could do about it. For someone much younger than I, then I think you're going to have to eat as healthy as you can. I think it would be a good idea to find a plot of land that you can grow your own food, or as much of it as you can. And of course, anything coming out of Japan, I wouldn't be buying at all, as far as food products are concerned.
Mm-hmm. So you're taking basically what you're saying is all the things that you're recommending to prevent damage from the radiation. That's basically your daily regimen anyways.
I would say probably. I take an enormous amount of vitamin C, for instance, because it does several things for me. I have a few health issues as far as my left hip is concerned. And when I take enough vitamin C and vitamin D, as well as calcium and magnesium in equal amounts, by the way, I do believe that they help to counteract some of the problems that are caused by the painkiller that I have to take, when things really get bad. And, it's really amazing what whoever is responsible for this whole universe, the wonderful gifts that it has given mankind to use in terms of staying alive, keeping healthy, to undo the harm that is done when we are unhealthy, when we make mistakes, when we have injuries. And we can't really appreciate that, can we, when we see the things that we're doing to this planet and to our fellow creatures that have to suffer through it. And I'm thinking of the radiation left behind by these power plants that are now in some sort of state of damage, and putting nuclear energy into the environment that we don't know really how to deal with it.
Well, they've upgraded it to the highest level now.
It's 7, I gather.
Yeah, it's level 7, and that's at par with the Chernobyl disaster.
And we really don't know how bad that is yet. This I can tell you, from what I know, for instance, of depleted uranium, which our governments illegally, and when I say our governments, that includes Britain, France, the United States, and Canada, any of the NATO participants that use depleted uranium in their shell casings, or their shells that they use to shoot up tanks and anything else that gets in their way. This metal is so dense, it goes through steel like a hot knife would go through butter. And once it's inside the tank, it explodes, and anything inside that is alive is just destroyed. Anything that is combustible is destroyed. It burns up, and so there's residue of that. And I'm horrified when I see these tanks that have been destroyed on the side of a highway, and you see kids playing around them. You see adults standing on top of the tank, grinning from ear to ear. I mean, these are the rebels that I think. Unfortunately for them, they're going to have a smile on the other side of their face when the effects of the depleted uranium have. I remember a nuclear engineer. He has an open line program on a station out of San Francisco. Usually, I think it's on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday nights, sometime after 11 o'clock, I think. It's a very powerful station, a 50 kilowatt station at 810 kilohertz. And he's harmless, he said. This is a lie. This is a blatant lie. This stuff is, you might as well be picking up hydrochloric acid for what it does to the body ultimately.
Well,
unbelievable.
We're seeing the results of it already with miscarriages and birth defects.
That's right. We're seeing children being born with cleft palate, other conditions known as neural tube defects. The latest one I heard is a baby born with 3 heads. Have genital deformities.
Well, I've heard the old saying 2 heads are better than 1, but I don't know about 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 3.
The third one might just get in the way.
Well, it ain't funny, McGee. And I guess what they must do is they put them out of their misery. But, I mean, this is what those people are going to have to face for several generations. And this is what's going to happen, I think, in and around Fukushima or whatever they call that place. And you'll have to pardon my Japanese isn't all that great. It's not all that great at all at the best of times. But the bottom line is that the children that are yet to be born are the ones that are going to have some really horrible life to face. Mm-hmm. And I think we all are, to a lesser greater degree, depending on how much life is left to each of us. And I think, yes, there are things that you're going to have to look at. I've heard of things like liquid kelp. Zeolite is something that somebody was asking me about. I really don't know anything about it. I was just more upset about the fact that somebody like me, with a few years left of my life, that I'm going to be worried about how long I'm going to live with only a few short years. I'm 76, yeah, losing my memory. And I'll be lucky if I have 10 years ahead of me, you know. And am I going to be spending all my working days, breathing days, worrying about what I'm putting into my body? I guess I'm going to have to a lesser greater degree, and take certain foods, hopefully, that are going to have some mitigation. I know one thing. I take a lot of vitamin C, and I take calcium and magnesium, and I take zinc. The potassium iodine, I really don't know enough about it to really comment on it. But I think you better find a good medical doctor, and certainly a holistic medical doctor that more or less has his gears together on this sort of thing.
I think what you just said is good advice for anybody, not just somebody 77 years old. There's so much happening in the world. This is one disaster, but there's all sorts of horrible things that are going on, and you can't spend your entire time
mulling about it,
being upset about what's going on, and being sure you can do whatever you feel you can do about it, and get the word out and things like that. But at the end of the day, there's all sorts of good things going on in the world too, And focusing only on the negative is only going to cause more.
It amplifies things, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's going to suppress your immune system. You'll end up being, less healthy as a result. So
you got to be positive in your thinking, and you've got to be happy in your outlook, positive in your outlook.
Yes,
and you cannot afford to dwell on the negative.
And also,
but you do have to take cognizance that these things are coming at you, and you've got to take certain steps to help your body as much as you can under the circumstances.
Absolutely. Focus on what you can control, not on what you can't control. Because what's happened in Japan, we don't have any control over that. No. But we do have control over what we eat. And
we have some control over our politicians, not as much as we would like to think we do. But I think we should be letting these politicians know that they've put their foot in it.
Yeah, and we can, as living in a democratic society, we can let our politicians know that we want to move away from nuclear power, because as we talked in our last episode about nuclear power being the cleanest, so-called cleanest form of energy, that's all well and good until something like a natural disaster happens, a tsunami, an earthquake. Who could see that coming? Well, I guess in Japan, they should have seen it coming because it's a
an earthquake zone, zone of fire, they call it.
Well, we're in an earthquake zone here on the west coast of North America, and we don't have in Vancouver, we don't have a nuclear power plant, but there is one a couple 100 kilometers south in the state of Washington.
And, there's that's you think of the Hanford. The Hanford complex that they have in south of the Columbia River's Grand Coulee Dam area, the Roosevelt Reservoir, that area, and they've been storing nuclear waste in an area where they shouldn't have been because it leaks, They have problems with it going into the groundwater, and I'm pretty sure that the Columbia River is getting a dose of it below Grand Coulee for sure, and on the way to the Pacific Ocean at near Portland, Oregon. But I'm not sure of any other nuclear plants in Washington State. That they have them in California, and that's an earthquake zone. And they sure have a lot of them in other parts of the United States.
Well, I think in Ontario there's, if I'm not mistaken, there's about eight of them. They account for about 40% of the power for Ontario, the current power production in Ontario. And interesting, what's happened now is that some countries have announced they're going to take some drastic steps to eliminate nuclear power, and Germany in particular has declared they were already saying that they want to move away from it over the next 20 years or so.
Well, they could see the hazards and having to deal with it.
Yeah, and so as a result of the disaster in Japan, they've announced that
it's underscored things.
Yeah, sure. They've got they're fast tracking it. They're going to eliminate nuclear power, and in terms of the percentage of total power production in Germany, they're looking at about 40% as well, 35 to 40%, I believe, of their reliance on nuclear energy. Unfortunately, other countries aren't as lucky in terms of having other forms of power. Like, for instance, France relies on nuclear energy for 70% or more of their consumption. Yeah. So, some certain countries like France would have a very difficult time getting off of nuclear power in a short period of time. It's going to be more of a long-term effort.
They're going to have to be looking at their technology or improving it and developing it, and that is, of course, solar energy and storing the sun's energy for release at a more convenient time.
I think the answer is really to empower the people to be able to come up with solutions on their own and invest in technologies in their own homes and businesses, and to be able to sell the power back to the grid. And I know this is happening, and this is happening in certain countries and jurisdictions around the world. and it seems to be
every house that is built now, and every building, if it's got an expansive roof, it should be laid with solar cells.
Yeah.
So capture the sun's energy and convert it into usable electricity.
As the cost of the technology comes down, because it is coming down, and the efficiency and the output of these cells, the solar cells, are going up. There's also all sorts of other types of generating power in terms of kinetic energy and water power. If you have a creek running through your property, there's all sorts of different things you can do. And if you have the ability to not only save your hydro bill, but also sell power back to the grid, so your meter will be able to measure how much you're using, but also how much you're giving back.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you could generate income for your family by putting up an extra solar panel, and you're going to make the money back in, say, 5-10 years or whatever, a lot of people would do that. And,
I think so.
And that would definitely reduce our reliance on nuclear power, and would basically make everybody a power entrepreneur. Basically, it would be anybody who wants to participate could, but there's some regulatory issues, and there's some hurdles, and of course the establishment who is profiting from power production is
they're not going to be happy about
resisting this. So that's another thing. So how bad? Let's get back to Japan for a second. How bad is the situation right now? I know I saw on Twitter today that one of the other, I think the Daiichi plant in Japan there was smoke seen coming out of the plant, and they weren't sure why. They were saying that.
How many plants have we got that have been affected by this tsunami quake affair?
I think there's 5 or
5 in total.
Yeah.
So this did you say Daiichi?
Yeah. Let me see if I have it here. Smoke at another Japan nuclear plant. Smoke briefly rose Saturday from a control panel at a Japanese nuclear power plant operated by the same company, battling to stop radiation seeping from.
And it's a plant that was designed by General Electric?
Well, that I don't know, but
very likely.
There were no injuries, but the cause of the smoke at the plant in coastal Niigata Prefecture was not clear. The incident occurred in the evening during the checking of water purification equipment at the complex. The company was quoted as saying that it looks like it's not a big deal, but we'll, that'll remain to be seen.
Yeah, for sure.
And
by the way, just to give you an idea just how safe they really think these plants are, you cannot buy any insurance in the event that there is an accident and damage. You cannot buy insurance for it all, not in the United States, and I would imagine not in this country or anywhere else for that matter, because it's just too risky. The only other thing that I know, a government initiative that is just as bad, get this, vaccines. But that's a story that we will deal with at another episode of this.
Well, we've actually dealt with vaccines quite a bit in previous episodes. But
we will be dealing with it again because I got some more, as they say, crap to bring up.
There's all sorts of. It's an ongoing story. This one will never end. But the radioactivity has been rising off the sea, in the sea off the coast of the northern Japan. And they've been trying to move all this, the contaminated water. I believe it was 6 tons or something like that of contaminated water that they were moving. And the radioactivity is 6,500 times the legal limit, according to samples taken on Friday, which is up 1,100 times the limit the day before. So levels of cesium-134 and cesium-137 rose nearly fourfold. And the increased levels are still far below those recorded earlier this month before the initial leak was plugged. So
when they talk about legal limits, legal for whom?
those are actually legal limits for people who are working in that industry, exposure for workers. So I don't know, what that really means in terms of the general population. I don't know if they have if there's a different recommended legal limit for that, but it's a scary situation, and it doesn't seem to be. It's not something that's going to go away anytime soon. But like we were saying before, there are things that you can do to help protect yourself. CROFT was saying vitamin C, I guess because of the radiation causes free radical damage.
Yeah, and it will at least deal with that to a degree, I'm sure. And but as I say, you need to talk to somebody who is really experienced. I'm not a physician, and all I know is just from my knowledge in terms of nutrition and what the body needs really to be healthy.
Mm-hmm. I'm just looking at the website right here as we're talking. It's called Gaia Health, information for the welfare of you and your children. And they're talking about natural products and foods that can help protect against radiation. And they're saying that modern medicine can offer nothing to protect against the effects of radiation poisoning. The best they have to offer is high doses of iodine, which helps to protect only the thyroid, and also antibiotics to help check rampant infections in advanced stages of radiation poisoning. And
the question, of course, is how high, when they talk about high doses of potassium iodine. Certainly, the provincial health minister, Dr. Perry Kendall, has been saying that, don't do this, don't do that. And he told us that things were fine, a couple of weeks ago, but it seems to me they're changing their tune now.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing with the iodine is your thyroid has a affinity for iodine, right? Mm-hmm. So it'll when iodine enters your body, it is an essential nutrient. When iodine enters your body, it's absorbed, very quickly by the thyroid. Mm-hmm. So the theory not the theory, but the science behind protecting your thyroid with iodine is that your thyroid gland doesn't know the difference between radioactive iodine or non-radioactive iodine. So you got to make sure that it's getting non-radioactive. And saturate your thyroid with iodine, and then it's got to be potassium iodine. Yes, and then so it's full. If it's saturated with iodine, the radioactive iodine that enters your system won't be absorbed by the thyroid because it's not able to absorb anymore because it's full. That's the theory behind it. Yeah. Okay. So what they're saying though is that there are side effects and other potential damage to various organs if you're taking potassium iodine over the long run at high levels. What are your thoughts on that? Frankly, I haven't given it that much thought at this juncture, I'm sorry to say. Okay. So this site here, they're mentioning that in contrast to modern medicine, who has antibiotics and potassium iodide or iodine to protect you against radiation, that there are a number of natural treatments and things you can do to help protect yourself. And one of them is to just take care of your skin. What they're saying is that your skin is the first defense against radiation. If you know you've been exposed, the best thing to do is to remove your clothes and dispose of them, and wash your skin. They're saying that it's a misconception that radiation just will get through you and zap you and all this, and especially alpha radiation does have to penetrate the skin. And if you take care of your skin, it will take care of whatever residue is on your skin. Is that what they're saying? By washing your
keeping yourself washed, in other words.
Yep. And then the second thing they say is to protect the thyroid and not to rush out and get into this iodine business, but by instead using products like kelp. And you came up with a good point when we were talking on the phone yesterday, is that now that's all well and good before, but now where are they going to find the kelp that doesn't have some level of radioactive contamination?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's another thing to think about too.
And that's the other thing, of course. Your dietary habits are going to have to change because of saltwater fish. Yeah. So you've got shellfish that filter the water, and
so they're also saying that for iodine, the government is recommending to get the iodine that you eat the agribusiness food stuff fortified with iodine, such as condensed milk, commercial mayonnaise, or a few others, perhaps.
Use iodized salt on your food.
Yeah. So these fortified iodine foods, are they actually being taken up by the thyroid? There is no documentation to support that. It could also be pointed out that milk fortified with vitamin D does not provide much vitamin D to the body.
No.
So probably the same thing is going on with foods that are fortified with iodine. They're recommending that you get your iodine from a kelp supplement. And they go into how much iodine is really needed in order to protect the thyroid.
Yeah.
I'll put...
What about vitamin D? Are they talking about potencies there? Because it seems to me at least 2,000 international units of vitamin D3 a day.
It's an interesting... The vitamin D thing is interesting because they've got their daily recommendations, and they've gone up actually ever since the studies have actually conclusively proved that there is a link between vitamin D and protection against cancers.
That's right. They've actually cured cancer patients with relatively high doses of vitamin D.
And I know you follow the Vitamin D Council.
Yes.
And their daily recommendations, what they think the daily recommended amounts should be, are far in excess of 2,000 international units.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, they were curing prostate cancer patients in a hospital in Toronto using something on the order of 2,000 international units of vitamin D3, and the nutritionist that was working with these urinary surgeons, I guess, or he was saying, "Hey, more, give them more, and the cancers were shrinking just very, very quickly." And they did a similar study in the United States, but they didn't use vitamin D at all. They were using some other chemical that they were hoping to get a patent on, I guess, and they had no success at all.
Wow. The other thing they're saying, so after exposure, so this is the kelp is they're recommending before you want to be on the kelp if you know that you're going to be exposed, like what's happening now with the radiations, slowly seeping around the world. Is that after you've been exposed, they're recommending chelation and detox, and they're making a key point here, saying that the term chelation usually refers to removing toxic heavy metals, and that's not the case in terms of nuclear radioactivity. They're using the same term, but it's a little different. They're talking about chelating radiating materials, which are also heavy metals, but they're talking about using chelating agents that help with the atomic particles and waves, not just the heavy metals.
By the way, vitamin C is a chelating agent.
Yep. Yeah, and among other things too. There's I think it was episode 3 you talked extensively about all the benefits of vitamin C, which are huge. But they're saying that spirulina and chlorella can be useful for both reducing radiation and improving general health, and are both types of algae highly rich in nutrients. Now,
this also tells us, by the way, we should be losing weight if we are overweight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you find like, would you recommend people to taking these algae, spirulina and chlorella?
if they know the source, why not?
Okay, chlorella is often listed along with spirulina as a radiation chelator or equivalent. Interesting. And then the other thing they're recommending is kombucha tea. Kombucha tea. And what do you think of that?
I'm not familiar with it specifically. I'm aware of it.
It's fairly controversial. Of course, there's a lot of products in.
Isn't the health food industry controversial in itself?
The whole natural health industry.
Yeah. I think he's not a doctor. Ralph Moss.
Yes, he's a PhD, I guess.
Yes.
He did an article about kombucha tea and cancer in the Townsend letter a while ago in his letters, and it's a little bit controversial from what I remember. And then there's bentonite, clay, and zeolite. They're recommending that as well. Yeah. And in any situation in which the liver is asked to do extra duty, they recommend milk thistle to help with the liver. And then they've got a whole list of various other nutrients that they recommend, like pectin, calcium, vegetable oils, buckwheat and millet seeds, chlorophyll-rich foods such as broccoli, green cabbage, and alfalfa. Brewer's yeast is noted for countering the effects of radiation. Miso soup, nettles, usually made into tea, so nettle tea. Burdock root. This item is questionable as it's known for its ability to eliminate radioactive isotopes from the body, which is not the issue for radiation poisoning. Foods noted for fighting or preventing cancer, such as dried beans, especially lentils and mung beans. Cruciferous veggies like broccoli and cabbage. Veggies with high levels of beta-carotene. Black and green teas. And then vitamins and supplements, they're recommending vitamin E in large doses, vitamin C in large doses, calcium large doses, B complex. Excessive doses should be avoided. The symptoms of overdosing vitamin B are similar to those of underdosing. And
underdosing is usually the problem with B vitamins as far as I can see.
Yeah, and magnesium. A large percentage of people may be deficient in magnesium.
Well, there's so much with regard to calcium and milk. Without any understanding of the fact that for every molecule of calcium that you take into your body, you need an equal amount of magnesium. This regulates the heartbeat, your cardiovascular system, your pulse depends on calcium contracting the muscle, which is what the artery is, as it contracts, and it is magnesium that relaxes the artery and pushes the blood along and help the heart to do its job, maintaining your circulation.
And then the only other thing is fulvic acid.
Fulvic acid? I'm not even familiar with that.
Yeah,
See,
apparently it's
getting old and I'm losing my bearings here, you know.
Well, there's so many different things, it's hard to keep up on everything, but this is a mutual friend of ours is promoting a product that is made up of kelp in fulvic acid, and it is apparently very effective in helping to eliminate uranium and plutonium radiation from those sources. So I don't really know much about it either. I'll put the link in the show notes at foodsornotdrugs.com. I'll put a link there so that you can take a look at the research yourself, and I'll put some information about that particular product, and also a link to the Gaia page where I was just reading about those natural supplements and nutrients and vitamins and foods that are anti-radiation.
And that brings a point. If folks out there in this wonderful world of the electronic media, if you want to help this along, it would really be nice if you sent a donation. And we can give you, Andrew will give you an address for that. And we're not in the position right now to take credit cards or bank cards, but certainly a check in the mail would be very helpful.
There is a donation link on the page. It uses PayPal.
Oh, yeah.
So with PayPal, you can use credit cards and various things. A lot of different podcast shows and new media shows have a donation button, and some people who listen to a lot of different shows will contribute to the show just to make sure that the show keeps going.
Right.
And,
well, that's great.
Yeah, and we're doing the show for free, and we're not actually requiring any compensation, or we're not selling the show. But if you do want to
it would certainly help.
Then that is something that you definitely are able to do, and we definitely appreciate it.
And one of the things that I'm happy to do, if people want to contact me by email and they have a specific question, if they have a problem that they feel I might be able to help them, then all you have to do is email me at croft.woodruff@gmail.com. So CROFT is just CROF as in Frank, T as in Thomas, period, Woodruff, WOODRUFF at the stylized A .com. .com.
So it's croft.woodruff at
gmail.com.
Yeah. croft.woodruff@gmail.com. And you can also, if you have any questions or want to participate in the show, or comments, or if you disagree with anything that we're talking about on the show and want to put your opinion out there, we'll gladly bring you into the show. The number is 1-877-636-1474. That's 1-877-636-1474. It's also at foodsornotdrugs.com, and at the other site where the show is syndicated on, which is podcasthero.com. So you can, if you forget the number, just go over to foodsornotdrugs.com, and it'll be on the right-hand side on the sidebar of the page. And we've had a number of people call in the past, and we'd love to have more of you call in. Or if you've called in before, feel free to call in again, and just a question, comment, complaint, anything you want. Suggestions for future episodes are always welcome.
Well, the thing is that, like myself, I've been in the health food industry for the best part of my adult life. For several years, I operated a health food store in Vancouver, basically selling minerals, and herbals.
For several years? Wasn't that like 30 years?
Something like that. And as with regard to this, you're always learning. You are always learning when you get into health and issues of nutrition and vitamins, minerals, and herbals. And so people ask me questions, and I'm only too glad to answer them if I can. And I do have some good sources that I can get answers from. So you can use that email address we've just given out, and I'd be most happy to help you. I have a story for you. A couple of years ago, this couple from Central Europe I've known them for a few years. They caught up with me at the store and gave them some information to help them with their health and other issues relative to being in Canada. And unfortunately, the husband had a massive stroke. And he was told, well, I mean, I should say his wife was told that he would be lucky to come out of that awake period and probably paralyzed. And if not paralyzed, maybe deaf or dumb or in some way or another mute. And it was a pretty bad situation. He was that way for several months. And of course, when this all took place, his wife came to me and wanted to know what she could do. And frankly, I'm not a physician. And when you're dealing with somebody who is in a coma, if you're going to be doing anything, you're going to give them something like intravenous, feeding them through the vein. And I can imagine in a major hospital that they're going to be, looking at vitamins in the IV. I wonder certain other things. And my answer was, frankly, I have no idea what you can do in a situation like that. For one thing, you're going to be up against the physicians because you'll be interfering with what they're doing. But if it was me, this is what I would do. I would get myself a blender and put together a liquid, like a brew, if you would, and fortify it with, say, nutritional yeast, vitamin C, vitamin E. I'd use a blender to emulsify things, and I'd get an eyedropper. And every day that I visit him in the hospital, and she was with him every day anyway, I'd take that eyedropper and just put a little bit in between his lips and just squeeze a few drops from the eyedropper. It's not very much. And kind of grab the throat and kind of massage it, maybe to help him swallow, Sure enough, unconsciously, he did swallow. And she did this for a few months. He pulled out of that coma. He wasn't paralyzed. He wasn't deaf. He wasn't blind. He sure wasn't dumb anyway, as far as his ability to speak. But this is ironic, the award that a person can have for being loyal to somebody, thick and thin. He just took off and left her.
Well, I guess it wasn't a happy ending, but he's not in a coma anymore.
But interestingly enough, who's to say that what she did didn't do any good? It must have done some good. It certainly didn't do any harm. He had no reaction to this, not even choking, which is something that I had considered was a possibility, and I warned her about that. But no problem. And this person, by the way, could use some help. There's somebody that if we set up a donation box for people in dire straits, this is a person that I have, with a friend of mine, we've stepped forward and put some money out to help this person. The government is helping, fortunately. We have a decent system in this country, such as it is, for helping people through welfare and job training and this sort of thing, because she needs a job, and this woman has experience. She's not a dummy, and she's a very intelligent woman, and whoever has her as an employee would be very lucky. Mm-hmm. So if anybody there needs somebody who has good office work, knows legal stuff and stuff, on the next program maybe I'll have a little more information just to give you an idea of what this lady can do, and maybe somebody may have a job for her.
Perfect. All right. So and that's a good point too. We're talking about natural health freedom and things like that on the show, And it's good to note that we are not offering medical advice on this show. This is a show for informational purposes. It's possibly entertaining for some people, and informative, but we do not address specific medical issues in the capacity.
I'm not in the business of doing surgery or amputations or transplants or anything like that. I can give you information to go to certain physicians who I believe can be very helpful in terms of what they have within their armamentarium as far as healing is concerned. But that's as far as that goes.
Mm-hmm. Always, no matter what you're dealing with, it's good to deal with a qualified medical practitioner, healthcare practitioner, like a medical doctor, naturopath, or other.
And there are some very good medical doctors out there, I can tell you, who do know that vitamins have a role to play in nutrition, and should definitely be used. And not only vitamins, but herbs too. Mm-hmm. You know, I have some physician friends that do things like chelation therapy, and they've turned people right around.
Yep. There's all sorts of
people that were doomed to be in a wheelchair for the rest of their life.
There's all sorts of stories and testimonials that people have for these types of therapies, and we've talked about quite a few of them in the past, and we're going to talk about more in the future. But Dr. Jonathan Wright comes to mind down in Washington. The late Dr. Hoffer. And Dr. Linus Pauling, and various other people who have pioneered these therapies and have proven that they work. So,
I have several issues of the Townsend Letter for Doctors, and this is actually published in Washington State, and I would like to offer it available. I have several issues that I'm in the midst of having to downsize. You know, I'm. I
remember I helped CROFT move a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
and CROFT has literally a library in his home. How many bookshelves I couldn't believe how many books he had, all to do with natural health and magazines and everything like that. It was just I said, no wonder you're the walking encyclopedia of natural health.
Well, it catches up with you, and as you get older and you know that you've got to downsize. I mean, if I drop dead tomorrow, my family is not going to be very happy with me. Yes, I've got a big pile of stuff for them to clean up. I'd like to get it downsized now. And I've got, as I said, probably about good 10 years of the Townsend Letter for Doctors. They're in mint condition.
How about, why don't you make a list of what you have, and we can put it up and people can acquire some books and magazines by donation.
Yeah,
to help,
that would sure help.
To help you out.
It would help me out because, believe me, as much as I'm grateful for the Canada Pension Plan, it doesn't go very far. And as everybody knows, the cost of living goes up and up.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll do that for the next episode, and it looks like we are running out of time here, so I guess we'll bring the episode to a close.
Well, I want to thank those who have been able to join in and hear the program. We'd like to hear from you, that is for certain, and we definitely want to have an interchange. So don't forget, you can contact me at croft.woodruff@gmail.com, and I'd be very glad to hear from you.
Mm-hmm. And call into the show at 1-877-636-1474 and leave a message, and we will play it in the show. Also, if you have a topic that you're very well versed on, we can bring you in as a guest.
We would like that, definitely. I could think of a couple of people right now that I'd like to have on the show.
Well, let's do it.
Yes.
Okay, we'll see you again next week.